Hi friends, host Eric here, host Tucker and Send People. I wanted to address this comment and I made a little document to help me address it, which I'm going to go over. And my goal tonight is to make a whole bunch of Type Police videos, but before I make any of them, I'm answering this comment, in part because I tend to look to the comments for suggestions of who I should Type Police next. And then on my way finding such a suggestion, I get sidetracked by something like this. Anyhow, enough preface. You speak positively about this ENFP's FE, which is sixth slot. But when you typed the ESFP the other day, you talked about her sixth slot FE, but in kind of a negative way, like kind of making fun of it. What makes you jive more with ENFP's FE and not jive with ESFP's FE, although they be in the same slot? You mentioned her being a strong ENFP. Is that the reason? If so, what makes a strong type strong? First of all, let me just say, I think B is correct there rather than R. But besides that, well, let's look at this. On some level, it's pretty simple. It's like ESFP FE works a lot better on STPs than it does on NTPs, and in part it's because it's just a matter of how FE gets expressed. You know, as an intuitive in any DOM, I like I like FE to get expressed in words. I like it to be done with language. And ESFPs are more likely to come up and start twerking on you or something. Now, that's effective FE in some regard, but it's not the kind of FE that I think is good FE, because I'm more interested in managing the perception management aspect of it in the abstract. You know, ESFP probably does a pretty good job of knowing how to respond to arousal or something. It's his own kind of FE, I guess. I don't know. They're like, if an ESFP were working at a bar and I was ordering a drink, she might be like, "Here you go, daddy," or something like that. And that'll make me roll my eyes a bit, because it's like, oh, come on. You've got ulterior motives, you know? That's kind of irrelevant to an SE user. If you're getting play, you're getting play, and it doesn't really matter what the meaning is. That's why, like, SE types can go to strip bars and enjoy them. I can't go to strip clubs and enjoy it. It's like, this is raunchy and inappropriate. Okay, but look, let's look at this chart thing here. Let me pull this boner up and let's look at this chart. So, what you'll see is I've taken each function and I've said, let's talk about it in terms of a process, in terms of a skill area, and in terms of a value. Because to understanding why, like, what I'm really taking, we're responding to use of the word strong here, or referencing my use of the word strong, and what I mean by that. Because I tend to scold other people for using that word in terms of cognitive functions, and then I do it myself anyway. But let me pull the grip. Okay, so let's see, if we think about it as a process, it's never going to be considered strong or weak. Okay, you're saying, you're looking at and hearing what's around you right now in the moment. You're doing SE. If you're in your head thinking about what I'm saying and the meanings, then you're not. The skill area in general for SE is opportunism. In that sense, you might be strong or weak at it, right? It's like, okay, well, now that I've identified the skill area, I can infer from that success or failure in that skill area by what comprises success and failure in that skill area in general. So, like, opportunism means when that chick smiles at you and you walk over and start chatting her up and end up taking her home, you successfully taken advantage of an opportunity. And your value here is change or action. In other words, doing shit. NE, the process is imagining. Again, you can't say that you're strong or weak in it, really. You're either in that process or you're not in that process. And if you're habitually in that process, obviously you'll get better at that process from other people's perspectives. To the extent that it's a public process. If it's not, then maybe not. So the skill area is creativity. You could say you're strongly creative or weakly creative. Or you could say you're very creative, but the things you create aren't very good. So there's lots of ways you can interface with that. So simply saying that you have strong NE or something is a misuse of the word that I'm guilty of a lot. The value for NE is novelty. You could say you strongly uphold it, but you wouldn't say you have strong novelty, or you wouldn't say you have strong change or action. The point I'm trying to get here is that the strength word applies to only a narrow understanding of cognitive functions. TE is solvency, so if you are good at solving problems, you might say you have strong TE. FE is perception. If you're good at perception management, you might say you have strong FE. But remember, it's social interface. So the process is you're either engaging on an FE level with social interface, and that is to say, noting things related to hierarchy, noting emotional states of others, noting how other people feel about other people, and knowing how people are likely to react to certain things, and what's gonna make people what's gonna smooth things over and shit like that. So if you're good at that, then you could be said to have strong FE, whether it's in a conscious thought or not. The value is warmth. You could say you uphold warmth well, or you convey warmth, or you are warm, or you successfully enable warmth in others, or whatever. There's lots of ways you could uphold the value, but the point is that it's just in terms of perception management, really, that you can talk about strength. SI, experiential linkage, is the process. It happens automatically. It's a knowledge function, which is, say, you receive information already decided, as opposed to determining information you do with TI or FI. Determining statuses. Okay, so the skill area is inventory, keeping track of the resources you already have and things you already know and the experiences you've already attained and completed. That's SI. And its value is predictability, and you hope, in other words, not just to be prepared to utilize your resources appropriately when the moment calls for it, but you additionally hope that the moment won't call for it. That you can just persist on with what you already have practiced and know, because SI doesn't want to improvise. It wants to have learned from past experiences that are concrete and physical, knowing way, self-knowing kind of thing. Okay, NI, pattern linkage, optimality might be considered strength, which is like if you're good at picking the best thing, and you find ways to optimize things, whether they be social or systems, whether it's paired with TE or FE, you could say be strong in that regard. But in terms of the value truth, you can't really say you're strong. It's just honor. You can uphold it in lots of different ways. Whereas pattern linkage itself, it's either happening or it's not. It's not strong or weak. FI, feeling emotions, same thing. You're feeling them or you're not. The emotions themselves may be strong. I can have very strong emotions. That mean I have strong FI? Not as usually meant. The skill area, importance. If I'm really good at knowing what's important to me and shaping my decisions in life to maximally attain that importance, to maximally prioritize that importance or something, well, then I'm strong in FI. And the value I'm upholding is going to be authenticity. Now, authenticity is a little harder to say you can uphold it in lots of different ways. It's more binary. It's more like you either are or you are not. TI, parsing, that's the process. You're either parsing things logically or you're not. It's binary. It doesn't really have a strength thing. If you're parsing it and successfully attain results in a skill area of defensibility, in other words, you can win the argument, then well, you could said to be a strong TI user. And then if the value is legitimacy, again, you can uphold that one in. Well, if, with TI, it's kind of like FI. It either passes the test or it doesn't. Anyway, instances. Certain things lend themselves to talking about them in terms of instances, like TE. That's good TE. Or that's good SI when you go like, you know what? We better bring a jacket. It's going to be colder. It's going to be cold later. I remember going to this thing before and it was cold. That's good SI. Habits. If you say he's got good FE, you're really talking about he habitually displays effective use of FE's skill area, perception management. Or probably what you really mean is, I like him. Yeah, that's what I usually mean when I say he's got good FE. I like that guy. But of course, the FE is not a possession he has. That you get a good one or a bad one. Like, oh, I got a broken FE. No, it doesn't work like that. It's just a metaphor, and so that's fine. Angles. You got to remember the angle of observation as well. Are you talking about strong or weak from my perspective or from your perspective? So, since we're talking about a third party, it's from the external's perspective in this instance, I guess, for both of us, yours or for mine. I'd say, well, to answer your question, do I get along better with ENFPs, or what do I mean when I have strong FE? My answer is, it means they more successfully get me to like them than ESFPs. They probably don't more successfully get ESTPs to like them, I would guess. So my statement there, they have strong FE, is revelatory of the limits of metaphor and the tendency of metaphor to mislead us sometimes. Or for me, maybe not to have expressed in full the fact that I should acknowledge that FE response is specific to probably intuitives, and probably the opposite occurs with sensors. Okay, animal character. You also need to remember that there's two ways we talk about being good at a function. We could say that an SI approach would go, well, Eric, that person who occasionally uses their creativity to good effect is better at it than you who use it way too much. And if that were the case, then you'd be taking an SI-minded or animal self approach towards the functions and saying, I want my functions to be balanced so that my life is as, I guess, predictable and knowable as possible. So that I'm not being run off the rails by my habits, my intentional habits. I'd like things to be more chill or something. But the character or NI style understanding of cognitive functions would say, no, like you're a character and we're comparing you against other characters. So who's got strong SE? Well, the ESTPs and ESFPs and ISTPs and ISFPs have strong that. Well, what I really am saying there is people who habitually pay attention through extroverted sensing display more obvious successes via extroverted sensing to those who don't. It's not necessarily the case that an extroverted sensor is using extroverted sensing more effectively than me if by effectiveness we're looking towards an FITE frame. So my SE does what I want it to do, and the rest of the time it sits on the shelf, waits for me to call for it again. And it does what I want it to do when I want it to do it. Now, that means it's not as responsive in the moment as somebody who uses SE as conscious function. If, the famous example that I've used before in videos is when I had a little, like, road showdown with this guy. He was a big, burly Marine dude and a wife beater that said USMC on it. And I was at stop sign. He ignored the fact that it was my turn to go, and he just went, and I just sort of like looked at him, and then I didn't even like flick him off or anything, and he pulled over to the side. So I was like, well, fuck that. I'm not gonna go now. Now I'm gonna fuck you. What do you mean you're pulling over? So I sat there at the stop sign. He got out of the car, and I said, "Are you gonna use physical violence?" And then, eventually he came over and slapped me. My glasses fell off my face, and they got ran over by a car. And then he went back to his car and drove away. And I was like, "Oh my God, you just hit me!" Um, you know, that's an example of his SE being stronger in that moment. But that doesn't mean it's more well used in his life. Being an SE Dom or tool user, probably a tool user. I think he was probably an ISTP, more likely than an ESTP, or he could have been an ISFP, more likely than an ESFP. I would suggest that the action type dominants necessarily have to learn to control their action type in ways that are, their action function in ways that are less effectively learned by a tool user. So, like a TI Dom could more effectively learn how to prevent TI from running away with you than can a TI tool user, who refuses to see the legitimacy of the alternative kind of function. A TI tool uses the alternative FI. We don't, or at least we don't refuse to see the legitimacy of it. We don't incorporate it at all. And as such, we have a tendency to let TI run away with us. The same thing is true, I think, for SE tool users, more as, as opposed to SE DOMs, as I was indicating there. So that's the challenge of the animal character thing is balance better or is powerful better? He could very easily have gotten arrested that day, and then his SE wouldn't have served him very well. Binary versus sliding scales. Processes are on and off. You're either engaged in that that attentional manner or you're not. Effectiveness versus strength. Like I said, I just explained that one with the SE thing, right? He was strong but not effective. He was effective in that instance, and he did successfully get away. I was so flustered by the thing, I wasn't able to get the license plate down. And then the locus of measurement. Oh, right. So where are we measuring it? From who's measuring it? I guess it's sort of the same thing as angles. It's like, if you're measuring the strength of my NE, then you'll be measuring it based on my words and the stuff that I've made and stuff like that. And you might say, oh, it's very strong because he made a lot of stuff. But if I'm measuring it, I might say it's very strong for a very different reason. Or I might even say it's not that strong, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably say my creativity is strong. However, that doesn't mean it's always effective. But regardless, the locus of measurement. So if from your locus of measurement, you're not going to be concerned with the effectiveness, really. You're going to be concerned with its effectiveness from your perceptions. Whereas from my own perception, I'll be concerned about the effectiveness of it, and I'm more likely to take what might normally be referred to as a habit, like NE, and turn it into an instance and go, well, I like this instance of creativity especially because of manity, meow. It doesn't work as well with NE. It works a lot better with TE. Works great with SE too. That's good SE is like, somebody knocks this thing off the shelf and you go, count, you reach out and grab it, snatch it and put it on the table, and somebody goes, that's good SE. They would be correct. That would be good SE. That'd be an instance of it, right? Okay, so that's the whole dealy-dally here with all of this stuff, is that when we use those terms, we have to make sure to explain what we mean in a way like this, that shows you that, okay, if you're going to have a problem with this word strong, as I do, let's articulate what the problem is. And we can come up with something that's very informative. And the thing that's very informative is these things aren't strong, and these things aren't strong. But these things in the middle can be strong because they're framing the attentional manner as a skill area rather than a process or a value. That's the long and short of this video. I hope it wasn't too boring or lectury, although I know it was pretty lectury. Thanks for the comment, and thanks for watching, and I'm going to be making some more type police videos this evening. If you got any recommended perps, put them in the comments. I appreciate that.